Hey friends, today I'm potting up bare root clematis and sharing everything you need to know about clematis pruning groups. Understanding how and when to prune is key to getting the best blooms. Let's get gardening. Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone A garden. And before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a fellow gardening friend. Okay, we are going to be potting up bare root clematis today. I know a lot of y'all are really excited to be seeing this video. This is how I work with my bare root clematis. I like to pot them up, start them inside. Once I have a really great established root system, then I plant them outdoors. That process has worked a lot better than just planting the bare root directly into the ground. But this has definitely worked really well for me. We are also going to be talking about all the different types of clematis as well. So we'll go through the different groups, group 1, group 2, group 3, and we'll talk about those different varieties. And I'll talk to you about some of the clematis that I already own. Each of those varieties, each of those groups, group 1, 2, and 3, is all about different types of pruning. So that'll be really fun, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so why should we pot up bare root clematis early? It encourages root establishment before transplanting, which is going to be for a more effective, stronger plant. It reduces transplant shock when moving outdoors. Instead of just going directly outside with this, you'll be established more, and then we'll shift outdoors, go through the hardening off process. And it helps the plant start growing before outdoor season fully begins. Now, in all honesty, we're only about 3 weeks away from the end of my winter and beginning of my spring. So I am starting these a little bit late. I could have started these as early as 4 to 6 weeks ahead of spring, but still, it'll still help a lot to get them established before going outside. So the best time to start clematis inside, bare root clematis inside, is late winter to early spring, about 4 to 6 weeks before planting outdoors. We are going to be planting up 2 varieties of clematis, and I have maybe 5 or 6 varieties currently in my garden. So the first variety is Clematis Miss Bateman. This was purchased from Lowe's, 1 plant for $7.98, and it is 6 to 8 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. Large white flowers with a greenish bar down the petals and dark red stamens. It blooms May through June with a possible second flush in late summer. It requires well-draining, rich soil with good moisture retention, and it does prefer regular watering, especially during drought. It is more of a compact variety in that it's only about that 6 to 8 foot height. Pruning group is group 2, which is light pruning after the first bloom. And I'm really excited to start this one. I don't actually have any white clematis, so really excited to see what this guy ends up looking like. Okay, next variety is Venosa Violacea. Venosa Violacea. You'll know, I'm sure it's pronounced way prettier than that. This variety is also from Lowe's. I bought 1 plant for $7.98, and this variety is 8 to 10 feet tall, 3 feet wide, medium-sized purple petals with white centers and deep purple veins. It blooms July to September, long blooming season. It requires full sun to partial shade, moist, well-draining, fertile soil, keep evenly moist, especially in hot weather, and a long flowering period from midsummer to early fall. It's great for vertical structures like trellis, fences, and arches. And this is part of pruning group 3, which means it's a hard prune in late winter. And this particular one is going to be planted alongside some climbing roses in hopes that it will mix with the climbing roses and grow up and over a trellis. So really excited about that. So let's talk about pruning, or let's talk about potting up these. One of the first things you have to do for these is you need to soak these particular guys because we want to make sure that the roots are really well hydrated prior to planting them. So let me show you how easy that is. Okay, so I've just got, this is just one of my bowls that I had out from a flower arrangement. I'm going to fill this up. Room temperature water is best. Definitely not freezing cold or really hot. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, move some of the stuff around because I don't want to get soil everywhere. Okay, we're going to start with the Venosa Violacea. I'm going to go ahead and open up my bare root, and I'm going to go ahead and check it for any mold or any kind of, it looks like it was grown in one of those fiber tube things, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that off because I do think that hinders root growth. So this is the top part. They've left a little bit, and it's actually growing a teeny bit already. So I'm just going to go ahead and just drop this right in, keeping it simple. This one I'm going to keep on the right side. Didn't see any rotting roots. You want to look to see if you see any dark roots. The roots you're really looking for are kind of like a yellow, lighter color. So here's another one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and rip off this. Yeah, I don't like those. So this root is not clinging to the soil as well, but it's put on a lot of growth already. And these are the strong, healthy roots. I don't see any rot. So I'm going to go ahead and soak that. So I've got one on one side, one on the other, and we're going to soak it for about 30 minutes prior to planting. We want nice, healthy, hydrated roots prior to planting. You're going to have better success if you do it this way. Okay, so these have both been soaking for about 45 minutes. Now, a couple of things I've learned about bare root clematis over the years, and I've grown a lot of them over the years, and this is just a really great way to be cost effective, add beautiful, expensive clematis to your gardens. It takes a couple of years for it to really get going, but oh my gosh, that's $7. That's amazing. Or if you bought from Costco, super cheap. It's like $2 to $3 per root. Way less expensive than buying some of the larger grown plants that can be upwards of $100+ per plant. So one of the things I've discovered over the years is a larger container is better for potting up clematis. You don't want to use one of those small quart containers, at least a gallon, if not larger. It has some strong root systems that really need to spread out, and it's going to do better in a larger container. Okay, we are going to be using my favorite potting soil, which is Burger BM7. Okay, you're going to need a good potting soil that is a mix of potting soil, has some good amount of perlite in it, and it's just really great drainage. We definitely don't want our clematis roots to get too soggy. And with whatever container you choose, you definitely want that container to have holes in the bottom, so for excellent drainage. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out my bare root, and I'm going to bring y'all in closer so we can talk about the crown of the plant. So this is the top. You've already got a little bit coming off of it right here. This is broken. Just pull that off, and you can see all the roots here. The crown of the plant is right here. It's right where basically the roots of the plant come up and meet the part of the plant that comes up and out of the soil. That is the crown of the plant. We want to bury the crown of the plant about 2 to 3 inches below the soil surface. I'm just kind of pulling this away so I can have a better look. Here we go. Here's the crown of the plant. So the crown of the plant is right here. You can see where all these roots come up and then they meet this stem right here. That's the crown of the plant. We want that point right there to be 2 to 3 inches below the soil level. So we're going to bury it right about there. So I'm just going to very gently hold this, and we're going to start. I'm going to spread out my roots a little bit. I don't want to mess with them too much, but just a little bit. All right. And we're going to go ahead and start putting in our potting soil, giving it a little shake as we're putting it in to settle the soil around the roots, making sure that our crown of the plant is 2 to 3 inches below the soil surface. Just like that. Very simple. I'm not compacting the soil a lot. We don't want to go crazy. All right, here's our next one. This is the Miss Bateman. And the crown of the plant is right here. It's where all the roots meet the rest of the plant. So we're going to go 2 to 3 inches above that. Let's spread these roots out just a touch. Nestle that down. Let's support these right here. And we're just going to gently drop our soil in, making sure that the crown of the plant is 2 to 3 inches below the soil surface. Just like that. Very simply done. It doesn't have to be hard. We just need to make sure that we're utilizing the right materials to achieve this. Okay, we need to install some stakes in here ahead of time. And I say ahead of time because I forget to watch for this. So I'm not installing the stake right in the center. I'm putting it to the side, just like this. And these are just bamboo stakes with like old salt and pepper shakers glued on top of them. Really fun way to create stakes. And then we're going to take the existing vines and we're just going to very carefully train them around. And we're going to add some clips to hold them in place. And this will help support these. And then as new shoots come up, you just want to work them around the stakes. And the little clips I'm using are from the Dollar Tree. They don't last forever and ever, but they work and they're inexpensive. It doesn't look like much, does it? This will work really good. Let me show you how I'm going to water these though. Okay, so I'm bringing in my hostas that I've already had potted up and they're doing beautifully. All of them have sprouted except for one over here. And we're going to go ahead and put our Clematis in here because they need about the same requirements as the hostas, just like that. I'm going to take, oh, that's exactly what we don't want to happen. I'm going to take my water that was left over in that container that I was soaking in. I'm going to pour it into the bottom of the tray and allow it to soak up the water that it needs. And that's how I'll water it. I'm not going to water it from above. I'm going to water it from underneath. That works really good. And it likes moist soil, not soggy soil. So definitely come back to this in a few hours. Drain off any additional water that's just sitting in the tray. Okay, so the Clematis prefers bright indirect light or under grow lights until outdoor temps are warmer. We're actually not that far off from being able to move these inside. So they're just going to go right under my table under grow lights. It's going to go a little bit off. They're not going to go directly on the table. They're going to be a little bit off on the back wall. So they're not getting like massive light right on them. More of a little bit indirect light throughout the room because the room, obviously there's a lot of lights in here. It's a lot going. Okay, a little bit more about aftercare for healthy growth. We want to avoid direct hot sun at this stage because it will burn these roots, dry these roots off, cause a lot of issues, and you won't have success with the bare root. That's why I really like to start the bare roots inside. We want to keep soil evenly moist but not soggy. The Clematis hates dry soil, so monitor closely, making sure that you are keeping it watered when needed. Do not allow it to dry out. We're going to keep this in a cool location, 50 to 65 degrees. My house is a little warmer than that. We're at about like 68, but I think it'll be all right. To encourage slow growth, slow root growth. We don't want to get a whole bunch of green growth at the top. We really want to focus mostly on root growth at this point in time. Once new shoots appear and outdoor temps are stable, gradually move the plant outside over 7 to 10 days, which is the hardening off process. And then you can start lightly feeding these with a fertilizer, a liquid fertilizer, once new leaves have emerged. I'm going to give these a few days. I've already got green growth on these. I'm going to give these a few days, and I'll probably, once these dry up a little bit, then I will go ahead and add some light fertilizer to it. Looks good. I'm super excited. Okay, let me put these aside. Okay, with your bare root Clematis, a few common problems and solutions that you might run into. you might have no growth. And with no growth, be patient. Some clematis take a few weeks to wake up, so it can take up to 2 to 4 weeks. Wilted shoots. So if you have new shoots coming up and then all of a sudden they're wilting, avoid overwatering and check the drainage, because most likely it's rotting and that's the problem. Make sure that you go ahead and pull it out if there's any standing water and allow it to dry out maybe a day before watering again. Leggy growth means to increase light or provide a gentle fan for air movement. The shoots that you already saw on those clematis bare roots, that's leggy growth because it was literally in a bag and it was reaching for light. So I'm going to give it a couple of days to settle in and get used to the environment of my indoor grow room, and then I'll move it closer to the light, which will work really well. What now I want to do is talk about the pruning groups for clematis, because I feel like that's probably a big area that a lot of people don't understand, and I'm still learning as well. So we want to understand the different types of clematis. Clematis are categorized into 3 pruning groups, which determine how and when they bloom. And it's really important as you choose clematis, make sure you write down the name of the clematis you have and understand what pruning group it is, and be able to reference back to your clematis so you know when to prune them and how to prune them. So the first group is group 1, and these are the early spring bloomers, meaning they flower on old wood. So they bloom in early spring on last year's growth. They need minimal pruning, and only trim after flowering to shape the plant, and they don't receive hard prunes, just a light pruning. These are best for arches, pergolas, and fences where they can grow naturally and rarely be pruned or disturbed. Group 2 is large flowered hybrids. These flower on old and new wood, and these bloom twice a season, once in late spring on all the old wood, and then again in late summer on all the new growth that they've created that season. These require light pruning in early spring to remove dead stems and encourage strong growth, and these are best for trellises and garden walls where structured growth is preferred. And then finally, group 3 is it's the late bloomers, and these are the ones that bloom on new wood. And these bloom in summer and fall on new growth. You prune these hard in late winter, early spring, cut back to about 12 to 18 inches above the ground. These are ideal for containers, fences, and garden structures where new growth can be trained each year. So you definitely want to look at that and where you're going to be placing each of these varieties of clematis. So for a couple of things, the Venosa Violacea right here, which I'm going to be putting this with a climbing rose. That particular one is a group 3, so it's a hard prune in late winter. So basically when I go out to prune my roses, I'm also going to go ahead and prune that Violacea. I'll pull down any vines that have woven up through the structure, and I'll prune it to about 12 to 18 inches tall at that point, which works great. And then it can spend the whole next season growing through that structure, which will be really fun. I might not have roses and clematis blooming at the same time because it's a group 3, but maybe, I mean, I get another flush of blooms for roses in late summer, early fall, which is when I would be seeing that Venosa Violacea blooming. Okay, so next is, holding that upside down. Next is the Miss Bateman, which is a group 2, which means it is flowers on old and new wood. And so this is just some light pruning in early spring to remove any dead stems and encourage new growth. But other than that, it doesn't really require a whole lot. So definitely be aware of the clematis that you're growing. Now, if you prune your clematis incorrectly, you are not going to kill it. You're not going to hurt it. It's going to be okay. Basically, if it gets pruned incorrectly, you might just not have blooms that next year. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Just look at that as a growth year if it's really working on roots and preparing for the following year. But definitely before you go in and trim any or prune any of your clematis, go ahead and Google it. Look it up, see what the variety is, see what its pruning group is. Now, I get a lot of questions, well, I don't know what variety this clematis is and I don't know the pruning group. Well, then you need to spend a year observing your clematis. You need to pay attention and see if it's an early spring bloomer and it only blooms once in the spring, then most likely it's a group 1 where it blooms only on old wood. If it blooms in the spring and then again late summer into fall, that most likely is a group 2 where it blooms on old and new wood. And then if it doesn't bloom in the spring, but it does bloom into late summer into fall, that is going to be a group 3 that only blooms on new wood. So you will have to spend a year observing to confirm what group that particular Clematis variety is. All right. Feeling good about getting those started. Like I said, I love starting Clematis this way. It's so inexpensive. It's really fun. I feel like it's like a baby that I'm raising, which brings a lot more value to me, in my opinion, in my garden, because I'm raising it from such a young little plant. So super excited to get those out there and continue enjoying Clematis. I have a lot that were started from bare root the last few years, and I'm really excited to see all their growth this next year, really enjoy them and all their blooms. Several of them are already putting off all their new green leaves, which is very exciting. All right, you all, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, getting the bare root Clematis started. I hope you guys will try it out. Let me know what your favorite varieties of Clematis are, or I say Clematis because I'm very Southern. Clematis is another option. That's the prettier version than Clematis, like me, like the Southern me, but Clematis. So if you have any Clematis varieties that you absolutely love and, you know, do really well in your particular zone, let us know. Let us know what your zone is, so that, you know, those in zone 5, I'm not growing a Clematis that does well in zone 5. I want the ones that grows well in zone 8. But be sure to drop that below and let us know. As always, make sure you like and comment on the video. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow the video so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me the emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and you say hi. And be sure to check out my Patreon community, which I recently started. We are just about 1 month in. It's been great. We're up to 65 members, which is really fun. It has a free tier and it has some paid tiers. Each tier gets you greater access to more content, whether that be videos that are only available to patrons, or you can share photos, participate in chats where literally we're chatting on a daily basis, ask questions, concern, provide advice. Like if you're a really great gardener and you have a lot of advice to give, that would be awesome. I post on there nearly daily just about what I'm doing, and it really is more of a heads up of what you'll see in the future, because most of the stuff I'm posting is about anywhere from 5 to 10 days ahead of what's going to be seen on YouTube, which is really fun. But really enjoyed it. I've gotten to the point where I just really like Patreon. I haven't been spending much time on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, because I just love the content of Patreon. I love the ease of it. I like that all the people there are there because they just want to talk about gardening, which I absolutely love. All right, you all, as always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.